for this. I'm gonna start the recording, and so we're gonna start yoga for desk syndrome.
Yes. Yoga for desk syndrome.
Can you
Okay.
tell us a little bit about what desk syndrome is?
Yes. Oh, I'll be glad to speak about that. I was a software instructor for 10 years. Okay. I suffered a lot from different. I was very young, when I started, but I had a lot of different pains. First of all, I had a carpal tunnel syndrome on my right hand, so I learned to use the mouse with the left hand. Eventually, from bending over and helping students, I got pain in the shoulders, I got pain in the elbows, and when I worked a lot learning the software, I got pain like in the middle of the back.
Mhm.
Okay, and from sitting on the desk, if I had to like learn and work a lot on the desk to learn the software and to prepare my summaries to teach, I got a lot of back pain, and I was very young when I did it. I did that for many years, and I got a lot of pain. I've learned to manage it, but I learned like different ways to cope with it. But guess what? When you find something to help you with something, something else happens. Like, for example, I got a standing desk because of the back pain. And yes, the standing desk is a lot better and it relieves a lot of the pain. But guess what? After almost 2 years, my knees started feeling the pain. So, I read a lot about it even before this class. I knew about it even before, you know, yoga or anything. I learned about it, and I already had training on the proper way of using a desk, like your arms should be in an L shape, your screen should be at eye level, but it never happens. People don't do that. For example, a lot of times people use bifocal lenses or transgression, whatever lenses, and they go like that or they go like this to see in the computer. It's really, really difficult to find a proper posture. And when you don't have proper posture, something's gotta give, you know. I got a lot of problems with my knees when after using the standing desk, and I use this thing actually. This mat, okay, which basically it's a, what is it called? I forgot what it's called, but it's a, what is it, stress mat or something? It's a anti-fatigue mat, okay? And it basically, you stand on it and it moves, so you're never in the same position. But you know what? Your knees eventually feel it, your ankles can feel it, your hips can feel it. I was standing sometimes for 8 hours a day and more. So definitely my best. So we need yoga. We need to stretch the different areas. I mean, there's nothing like yoga to focus on the different areas of the body that suffer because of this continuous use, and these accommodating to work, okay, our necks, whatever. So I did a lot of research on it, and I came up with a few poses, okay, that kind of address those problems, okay. So they're very simple poses. I try to look for poses that people did not, that are not too difficult. And if they are, there's ways to to make them a little bit easier. Basically, mountain pose,
Okay,
forward fold.
so instead of saying the sequence, you could say, okay, we're gonna go practice for this, and then just
Okay,
with the practice.
so we're gonna go practice now, okay? We're going to sit down and center ourselves. Let's find a comfortable position in our yoga mat. If you have a block, you can use it. I happen to have this here today, so, but you don't really need it. Okay. Let's cross our leg. Let's sit in a cross-legged position. Let's make sure that our back is really, really straight, like from the top, like as if we had a string pulling us from the top of our heads all the way down to the to our sit bones. Let's place our hands on our knees. We could touch our thumbs with our index finger, okay, and palms face up. We're going to take 5 full yogi breaths. That means that we're going to expand our stomach first, and then our chest, and then our upper chest area, our collarbone area. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Let's exhale, 4, 5, 6. Let's inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's continue on our own. Last time. Now we're going to add the sound of the ocean as we breathe for 3 breaths, okay? 1, 'd like to add an and our intention for the class. Okay, we're going to set the intention we have for our class to bring health to the stressed areas of our bodies. And let's do an Okay, let's breathe in. And as we exhale, let's say Okay. Let's come to the top of our mats. I don't know how you can see. And we're going to do mountain pose. Okay. Our feet in number 11. Face facing forward. As we inhale, we're going to bring our arms up. Let's put our hands together. You can interlace your fingers, look at your thumbs, and stretch backwards. Try to look at the back wall. If you can. As you exhale, let's do a swan dive and bring our hands as far as we can, you know. You may bend your knees a little bit and then reach down a little more and then stretch your knees to see how far and how much you can stretch, but do not overstretch. Just do as much as your body allows you to do. Okay, let's take a breath one more time and let's bring our arms up to mountain pose. And let's look at our thumbs and bend backwards a little bit. One more swan dive. See if you can reach a little forward, a little further down. Okay. Now let's place our hands in as far as we can in the mat. Bring our feet back towards like the back of the mat. And let's come into downward dog. Let's take 5 breaths here. 1. Continue with the sound of the ocean. 3. You may pedal your feet and feel the stretch. You can bend your knees a little bit. As your body allows you today. Okay, we should be on our 5th breath. As you exhale, come to your knees. We're going to do cat-cow. Let's make sure that our legs are hip width apart. Hands in straight line under our shoulders. Let's inhale and bend down like a cow and lift our head up and feel that stretch. If you need to accommodate a little bit, feel free to do so. Okay, let's exhale and bend our spine upwards like a cat. Let's go back down to cow as we inhale. Let's exhale and go back to cat. You should feel the stretch in your lower back. This is really, really good for your lower back and for other areas too. And let's do one more. Inhale. Cow. Let's try to see if our body gives a little more. And let's exhale and go back to cat. See if we can stretch a little more. But just enough to not overdo it. Okay. Now let's go back to downward facing dog. The next pose we're going to do is pigeon pose, which is really, really good for our hips. Okay, let's go up. Let's tuck in our toes. And let's go back to a downward facing dog. Okay. Pedal your feet a little bit. Or bend your knees and stretch. Let's lift our right leg up to the ceiling as we inhale, and as we exhale, let's bring our leg to the front of the mat. And if you can, okay, let's make sure that your hips are facing forward. Okay. If this is all you can do, this is fine. You could stay here, okay? If your body allows it, you may go down to your elbows. And if you can do a little more, keep breathing slowly, making the sound of the ocean. And as you exhale, see if you can go, if you can place your hands, if you can place your hands on top of each other, and if you could place your head on top of your hands. And let's take 3 breaths there. If all you can do is this, stay there. That's good enough, and that's really, really good. You will still get the benefits of the hip opener. Okay. Okay, on your next inhale, tuck in the left toes, okay? And let's lift and go back to downward dog. Pedal your feet a couple times. Bend your knees a little bit. Feel that stretch. On the next inhale, lift your left leg up to the sky, making sure your hips are facing your mat. You know, in other words, don't bend your hips up, right? Let's bring our left leg down towards the front of the mat, bending our knee. Make sure that your hip is facing, that your hips are forward. In other words, you know, that your hips are straight, and feel that stretch. If all you can do is this, that's fine. You could adjust your position a little bit, you know, like your back leg. Maybe you can give a little more. Let's bring our head down if we can. Or stay in your elbows, or you could stay in a, you know, in whichever position is comfortable for you. And let's take 3 breaths. Okay. The next, let's tuck in our right toes, okay? Let's lift our hips and go back to downward facing dog. Let's pedal our feet. And let's go down in plank pose, okay? Let's go down to the floor. If you need to place your knees on the mat, that's fine. Let's come down to the floor. And let's go into cobra. Let's lift our chest up. Breathe in and out a couple of times. Let's go back to downward facing dog. Okay. Let's walk or jump forward to our hand. Let's how do you say? Bring our feet forward. Okay. And let's come up to mountain pose. 1 vertebrae at a time if you can. Let's bring our arms up one more time. Look at our thumbs and stretch back. And let's bring our arms to the side. Now we're going to go to the floor, okay? So let's sit on our mats. Okay. Oh, I forgot to put the title on the post. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I guess we can skip that pose. The next pose we're going to do is bridge pose. Okay. This is really, really good for our back. Okay. Let's come down. Let's place our backs in the mat. Okay. Let's bend our knees and bring them as close to our butt as we can. Okay. And as you inhale, lift your buttocks up as much as you can. You could bring your hands, you could bring your hands under your butt and put them Put your hands together and see if you could stretch a little more, if your body allows you to. Let's take 2 breaths here. And slowly bring our backs, 1 vertebra at a time, down to the mat. We're going to do this one more time. Okay. Let's lift our hips up. See if you could reach if you put your hands together under your butt, and stretch a little more. See if your body allows you to do that. Don't overdo it because you're not going to obtain any benefits. Just work with your body as far as it will go and as much as it will allow you to do. Maybe next time you can do better. Okay. Let's come down to the mat. Let's stretch our legs all the way to the bottom, to the bottom of our mat. We could also lift our arms and stretch our entire bodies. And take 3 deep breaths here. As you exhale, you may be able to stretch up your arms a little more and your feet. Maybe bring them a little bit more towards the bottom of the mat. And let's take 1 more breath. Okay, let's roll to your one side. Place your hands under your head. And let's come back to sitting position. Okay. So let's close it with an Om, and let's thank ourselves for taking the time to do this for ourselves. Let's take a deep breath. As you exhale, let's do an Om. Namaste. I did as much as I could, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Very nice. Let's do the feedback round. Okay. So I'll start with you, Belen. So what did you appreciate the most about your practice?
Oh, that I could do it, and that I remember to tell people not to overdo it and to work with their bodies. That sometimes it gives more, sometimes it gives less. And this is really important for people who are, have back pain or whatever. You don't want them to overdo it. So I try to work on that. Now I noticed that that's for the good side, and then the bad side. The bad thing is that I forgot to name one of the positions.
So we're not in the bad side yet.
Oh, okay.
It's not bad. It's feedback for growth. To say it in a way that is positive for yourself. Like
Okay.
you say to yourself is also very important. It's like what you put in your body, also what you put in your mind, the words that you use, all of that is important, right? So of course we're focused on the positive. So thank you. What I appreciated the most was your attention to detail, explaining the poses, and also your pace, because typically your pace is very, like Vata, very energetic.
Yes.
So I really appreciate you were able to. It felt like a very grounded practice.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, okay, so next, Elizabeth, what did you appreciate about the lens practice?
I did the same thing. I felt like she was so like present and calm, and the detail of each posture. There was some things I couldn't do because I'm a little bit under the weather, but I knew my limits. But I still tried to get into focus to try to enjoy it. And now that I noticed, I feel really good. I feel like very like open and just like I don't know. Yeah, and then just the pace and the way that you described each one of them, and I also felt like it just went through like a very nice flow.
Mm.
So I didn't feel like yeah, like it was too energetic or too slow. It was just right. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Kathleen, what did you appreciate about the lens?
Um, I appreciated that it was a good pace too. It was nice and slow for anybody having, just discomfort, whether it's for their hips. So I think it was nice and slow. And I appreciated I feel like it was a lot of like it worked out my arms, it opened up my hips, and I was able to focus on my breath too. That was what I appreciated.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so now feedback for growth. Belen, what would you change or do different about your practice for this specific condition next time?
I will add a couple more poses. I will go slower because I think there's still room for doing it a little bit slower. I think the slower you go, the better for people. Okay. I'll try to focus more on the breathing. And also, I noticed that I missed one pose here, which was a back stretch. I don't know what happened in my summary, but I'm gonna fix it and add a couple more poses. And I look forward to presenting it again someday soon.
Which one did you miss?
This one I made before Cobra. I have a, what do you call that one? I forgot the name. Where you're on your knees and your hips forward and bring your hands to your butt. What is that pose called?
You're on your knees. I don't have this on your teach. I think
Oh, maybe. Let me see.
That's a different one.
This one. No.
That's camel.
The camel. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot. I missed that one. Or maybe I didn't. I wonder if I printed the same one I gave you. Yeah, I missed it. So anyways, I'm gonna add it because I really think that I wanted to give a whole body stretch, like the arms,
Yeah.
the hips, the back, back bends and fore bends. So I think that was a good pose. So I'll add it. I'll add a couple poses.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So what I would change is just to watch your timing, basically, because or next time when you practice it before. So your practice took exactly. So I said a half hour. So it took just the practice since you without the beginning part where you were talking. It took about 18 or 19 minutes. So
Oh, okay.
definitely add a few more poses or just stay on the poses longer.
Yeah.
Also I would say, trust yourself. Like I feel like I see a need for you to like explain yourself a lot, but I feel and maybe it's just like what strikes me is like you're nervous or you're unsure, but you did a great job at the practice. You did a great job at explaining everything. So you can just explain a little bit what the condition is. So maybe less talking and more doing, I would say.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So Elizabeth, what would you change about?
Yeah, I did. Actually, when she finished it, I did notice that it was a little short. But I also noticed that she didn't include the shavasana, and I would have liked that. um, what else? I think that's it. I mean, I felt like I was being guided really well. honestly. So, but just the Savasana, I just because of what you asked Bea to include, I did just notice that she didn't have the. Maybe that would have made the extra 5 minutes longer. I don't know.
Yeah, I missed the cobra too. I missed the camel pose because I don't know what my stomach was.
And you
Yeah.
have to remove some of the post-its as you do it, because I mean, you don't have to do it exactly. You put together a protocol, but you may change it on the spot, like, depending on how you see your students reacting to what you're teaching, right?
Right.
But I think you did great. I would have stayed longer in Shavasana too.
Okay. Good.
Always nice. Yeah. Maybe like a body scan or something that brings that awareness.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Kathleen, what about you?
One thing that I would change would I think would to include more poses. Um, Perhaps maybe like some opening like on the side, like in between, like the every time we went to downward dog, like maybe in between. That would be something I would like to include if it was my protocol, I think. But I think it was great too. It was good for what it was. And then also like just being a little bit more like attentive to like the details maybe. Like for example, when we did the pigeon pose, you told us to put our head down. Maybe next time you could be like, maybe detail it or focus it, like, oh, like put your forehead on the mat, like try to level it, because I just had my head, but I focused it. I like accommodated myself, and I felt a little bit like I felt like better. I don't know, like connected. I don't know. I felt connected to my mat. Like I felt like the prana energy going like towards that energy, my whole body. So I would say like maybe just a little bit more on the details.
Okay.
So thank you guys for the
Thank
feedback.
you.
I thought it was great. You did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I'm just gonna go through some elements that well, actually I'm gonna make this our next section, right? Which is putting together a practice. I don't know if some of you have already done this. You already have your sheet where you set your intention, you set your time. So how much time is it really gonna take? Preparing the room, what are your students going to need, right? So you can use that as a basis. And also the music. Sometimes we use music. If you use music, I would say try to make it low so that it doesn't compete with your voice. Voice is very important, especially when you're in a room, right? When you're putting together. And then so certain things that you need to be that you need to keep in check, right? The first thing is being punctual. So if you're going to start a practice at a certain time, you have to start it at that time. Some people are very specific about time, so you want to make sure that you start at the right time and that you end at the right time, as you said, right? You also want to make sure you greet everyone and you introduce yourself. If somebody in the room or online doesn't know you, you say, okay, my name is this, and you can give a little bit of an introduction about yourself, just to kind of break the ice with the students. Some students come into the room and they're scared or nervous about practicing yoga with other people, or they've never practiced. You may ask if it's their first time if you don't know them. You also want to ask if they have any conditions that you should be aware of. Doesn't mean that you're going to know how to modify any pose, but at least you're aware of it. And if you know how to, then you will. Also, you tell them if there is any pains that you have or any conditions, please be mindful. Always make sure that you are taking care of yourself first, safety first, right? If they have socks on, you want to ask them to take their socks off, because that could create issues and you don't want to be liable for that. Also, as a teacher, you should have a form that all students must sign, which is a liability release, right? And Melinda has a few. She'll probably give them to you. There's probably a few on your binder somewhere. Just key points to keep track of. And you also want to make a list of the students that participated in every class. So you kind of want to keep the record of your classes, like which students went to which classes, and any notes that you want to make on it, right? Also prepare the music in advance. If you are using music, make sure that you know how to connect to the stereo or whatever system there is. If you teach at a studio, you're going to have to figure every studio is different. So you want to make sure that you know how to set up in advance. Also, how you're placing the mats, right? So people like placing it a certain way, or they'll come into the room, or maybe you're going to have to set them up yourself. In some studios, you do set up the mats for them. Make sure that you can see all the students and the students can see you, right? Any pre-class announcements that you want to make, like if you're teaching something else on the weekend, if you're doing a workshop, or any announcements that you want to make, you can also let them know at the beginning. So once you're in the class, right, so welcome your students, make them feel welcome, like smile, you know, like don't, you know, I don't know if you've experienced like going to a class where like the teacher's like very tight and you're kind of scared. The idea is for them to feel comfortable with you. You can ask them maybe from 1 to 10, what is your level of energy, or something like that, or, you know, they can tell you. So 1 being very, very low energy, like you just want to stay in bed, and 10 being like you're bouncing off the walls. So kind of that will kind of break the ice for you. Also, you want to ask them if you're doing adjustments, if you're in the room, you want to say, I may come and adjust you if you don't want to be touched or adjust, especially during COVID times. You want to be mindful. You know, you can let them, just let me know if you don't want adjustments. You know, some people, especially people with trauma, they are very sensitive to touch, or other conditions, like they are very sensitive to touch, or you may be touching a part where they have a condition. So you want to make sure that you let them know, you're like, hey, I will be doing some adjustments. If you don't want to, please let me know, and just put it there. What else? Form and safety. Well, I already said this. You want to, at the beginning of your practice, also you want to tell them, please go at your own pace, please take a break, please come into child's pose, or, you know, child's pose is usually the one that we recommend to come into if they need to, if your students need to take a break. Always start with a centering, so it works for you as well as for them. Sometimes you will be nervous when you come into the room. So when you center, when you use a centering, you use a centering for you as well as for your students, right? And a centering could be, you know, the Om. It could be, we'll talk about centering on another later on, right? What else? So music volume should be adequate. You want to maybe ask you, especially if you're online, can you hear the music? Can you hear my voice? Is my voice or the music interfering? You know, is the music interfering with my voice, basically? What else? So for demonstration, so this depends, right? So if you're teaching online, some people want to see you demonstrate as you're teaching. It is very difficult sometimes because you have to watch your students on camera. You have to make sure that you can see them. And that's like one of the key points. Like today, I couldn't see Elizabeth. I could see some parts of you. And again, it's really complicated sometimes to set up the camera. But you definitely want to make sure that you see the student. So you're paying attention to their form, because your role there is to guide them, right? So if you know, anybody can do a YouTube video, like a yoga YouTube video, but the teacher is there to guide them. If you start doing a pose in an incorrect way, you are creating a habit in your body, and it's hard to undo that habit once it's created. So you're there to catch those habits and tell them like, hey, you need to, bring your arm here more, or make sure that your feet are facing forward, make sure. And these are the little things that we're trying to catch, right? So you're bringing the awareness to themselves so that they catch themselves as they go, right? What else? So make sure that you create eye contact with your students as well, especially at the beginning, and that you are projecting your voice. Also encouragement, right? So you're doing great, like good job, and that helps a lot. Sometimes you're like in the middle of the pose, and just like a few words are like, keep going. Encouraging your students is important. Or you guys are doing great, what else? So obviously attention to student is key, and again, like sometimes it is hard online, but you do have to watch your students as much as you can. And then the pace of the class. So you want to create a pace that is comfortable for them. Sometimes it will be a high pace, and you can say it at the beginning, very briefly, hello, my name is Bea. I'm gonna be your teacher today. If you need to go to the restroom, go to the restroom. Please go at your own pace. If you need to take a break at any time, please go into child's pose. Watch for any conditions, and I may be doing some adjustments as I go. If you don't want to be touched, just let me know. And then also you brief introduction. So we're gonna be doing a 30-minute practice. We're gonna start with some breathing exercises, and we're gonna continue to do, or like we're gonna do hip openers today, or we're gonna work on, I don't know, strengthening today, right? So just brief introduction. And you also prepare your lesson plan, which you guys already know how to do, right? Pretty much just key points, right?
Then are you okay? I mean,
Yeah.
You guys have,
because I see you're taking your oxygen level.
Oh, just no, just
is that the oxygen?
yeah. No, I was just trying to see if it was working. Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions about those points, or anything you want to add, anything you want to say? Yes, no, no, no.
I think you covered about a lot of stuff. That's really good. I think especially when it came to like seeing the person. I know you can't see me because I'm in a different place. I had to set up in my room because I can't be in the living room. So for some reason my iPad's camera is so weird, so it only gets a little bit. But yeah, I really like that you said that about just the camera and being able to see the students, because I think it is very important to be able to notice adjustments and that's something that I need to be better, is notice those things in myself and others, like my own practice. That really stood out to me. And yeah, also telling them to go to their child's pose, because I know with the pigeon pose, I couldn't do that. I just, after the downward dogs, I was just feeling a little bit like weak. So I just said, well, let me just like calm down, drink some water. But then I went into child's pose. So yeah, bringing that up during the class, especially if some classes are 2 hours,
Yeah.
But repeating that during the sessions, I think it's really good. So I don't think there's anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to make it too long at the beginning, but just briefly touch on those points. Okay, like, be safe, take your socks off if you have them off, set up the mats, just tell them briefly what you're doing, introduce yourself, break the ice, and then just get started. Be mindful of time, and I don't know if we have these elements anywhere, but hopefully you took some notes. I will send you, so you will, so the points that I just gave you are the ones that when you're gonna do your practice, and we're going to send an evaluation form, those are the things that we evaluate on. And I can send you the evaluation form so that you can know in advance for whenever we're doing other practices together. Now, if you guys want to take a break, you can take like I'll give you 5 minutes. Yeah. Or do you want to keep going?
Thank you.
Like a restroom break.
Yes.
So 5 minutes. So we'll be back at 10:46. And then we'll continue on to introduction to Ashtanga.
Okay.
See you soon. So I changed things up a little bit. I want to do the remaining of the hatha, including the children's and the chakras class for when Rain is back. But in the meantime, since you guys are doing YTT, and I think Belen, you already got some of this, but it's gonna be a good refresher for you. I want you guys to open your binders to chapter 3, and I may have a different order, but we'll just talk a little bit about Ashtanga. So in the Shala, our YTT is based on the Ashtanga practice, which is a style of yoga. So there's many styles. Ashtanga is one of them. I think it's one of the oldest. It was also the one that was practiced by the kings, by royalty. And back in the day, only men were allowed to practice yoga. So we base our YTTs or our teacher trainer on this sequence because it's basically it's a vinyasa style. So basically one pose follows the other, and it's always the same sequence, right? It never changes. Never changes. There are 6 series in total. So you finish the first one and then you graduate into the second one, into the third one. It's a practice that is very much focused on discipline. You have to be very disciplined. When you talk to an Ashtangi, they're very disciplined about their practice. They practice 6 days, 6 days a week, so they only take 1 day rest. And every day they do the full primary or the full series, which is about an hour and a half. So very strict. If you look at it, if you're like a core Ashtangi, it's very strict. But it doesn't mean that's for you. That is for you to have a basis, like a sequence that you can always use, and a sequence that you can modify and expand on. So for certain conditions. So we part of what I maybe will get to do it with Elizabeth is like, how would you modify this for this person, right? Because if you look at the basis of Ashtanga, it is just very strict, very strict. And here in the Western world, we have modified it. We've built sequences based on it, like are originally based on it. And basically what we know as vinyasa originated in Ashtanga. So vinyasa yoga, which is flow, right? Yoga flow, where one pose aligns with the next one, basically. And the whole point of the Ashtanga sequence is to open the body. So you have to see your body kind of like that lotus flower. And then each pose is each petal opening, right? And at the end, you have the lotus, which is the meditative state. And that's the whole point of Ashtanga. So, so I'm going to read a little bit. So if you open to chapter 3, there is a page somewhere that says Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. You guys can find it. The title. And I don't know exactly where it is on your binder. I'm gonna have to ask Melinda to send me your version because my version is older. But if you have it?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you guys all find it?
What is it called? Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga?
Vinyasa.
As you speak, I'm making my presentation because I did have a little presentation on it. So I'm just going to add my notes there, unless you need me to read.
No, it's fine. You can.
I'm taking notes and making my presentation as you go. Because all this information, I would have to read a lot to get it.
Got it, yes.
So it's better to just take notes.
I can read for you if you want. So I'll read. I just don't want to be the only one talking because I feel like people get bored or lose.
Okay.
But maybe Kathleen, if you want to read.
Okay. Okay. Ashtanga yoga derives its name from the Sanskrit language. Ash equals 8, Stanga equals limb. Translation equals the 8-limb approach of Raha Yoga. Raha Yoga, Raja Yoga was the yoga taught to royals as a means of heightening their awareness and increasing their focus for the duties they were ordained to fulfill. Astanga is a classical approach to yoga and begins with primary series, whereby 67 asanas postures are practiced sequentially. The series is designed to warm up the body and systematically stretch and counter stretch the muscles.
Right. So basically, so Ashtanga yoga, it's also, so what it means in Sanskrit is 8-limb yoga. And it is part of the Raja yoga, which is, one of the lineages or the oldest, I would say, probably. It was created, or it was popularized by Patabi Joy during the 20th century, right? And when you say 8 limbs, you're like, well, what are the 8 limbs, right? So it has 8, you could call it stages or different limbs are basically parts, right? So parts. So the first limb, I'm just gonna tell you quickly. So yama, which is the ethics, right? So you think that the yoga starts with, if you think that the yoga starts with the asana, a lot of people start with the asana and then later on get to the ethics. But the first limb is the ethics, basically. So it's the ethical part, and then there's 5 yamas, which are we'll go through that some other time. The second one is niyamas, and niyama is basically self-discipline and spiritual observances. So everything stems from that spiritual practice. It is a spiritual practice, right? And really the whole point of it is as you open the body, but the whole point of it is to expand the consciousness, right, of the individual. You have to prepare the body to do that. So you expand consciousness through meditation, but most people are not ready to meditate or are not even equipped to meditate. So the physical practice helps you to get into a meditative state. The third one is asana, and the asana are the postures that we know of. And again, most people start with the asana, or most people have the idea that yoga is really about stretching the body, but it's more about preparing the body, right, for meditation. Then the fourth limb is pranayama, and pranayama is basically breath control. So it's controlling the breath, and it's a layer that you add onto the asana, which is, so the physical comes layered with the breath, right? And we'll talk about these later as well. I just want you to know what the 8 limbs are. The pratyahara is the 5th limb, and it's withdrawal of the senses. So kind of that sense of just going inside yourself, right? And blocking out the external stimuli that comes from the 5 senses. So it's that sense of internal sense. The dharana, which is concentration. So to be able to really focus your mind. And that is just basically with practice, right? So sometimes you're practicing and you feel like your mind goes somewhere or goes somewhere else. And we're always coming back to that focus on this or focus on that. And that's why you say, like, look at what, you're feeling on the right leg or the left leg or how your breath is flowing. So it's bringing that awareness to specific parts of your practice. The next one is, we say Diana or Diana, I don't know exactly. And that's basically meditative state. So really come to meditation or contemplation. And then samadhi. And samadhi is like the final stage, which is like that ecstasy state that some people speak of. Some people have experienced or not. And this comes with practice. And in practice of all the stages, all the way through meditation. And at some level, at some points, you will be able to experience that samadhi or like that enlightenment, and you will know because it's like that sense of oneness, right? That sense of joy, that sense of ecstasy, really, and it is a spiritual feeling, I would say, right? Some people are scared to talk about spirituality, but yeah, but yoga, it is about spirituality. You have to be mindful of people who do not believe in any religion. Some people think that it's religious. It is not religious. And the way that I approach it with my clients, at least, is I will tell them, if you have a spiritual belief, if you have a religious belief, you can, kind of connect with that sense, right? Or whomever, like if you pray to the Virgin or to Jesus or to Buddha, I don't know. So if you have that, or maybe it's the sun or the universe, right? You can bring that sense by allowing them to find that connection, whatever feels right to them, right? But it is not really. Anyways, okay, moving on.
They define it as a tool to calm the mind. A tool to calm the mind is what I refer to it as,
Correct, yes. Okay, so let's talk. So who wants to read vinyasa principles? Elizabeth.
Yeah, I can. The answer principles. The movement and the breath are coordinated together. Find a place to start that is appropriate for your needs and begin your practice from there. Use modifications of postures, asanas, for different levels and to prevent injury. Listen to your body. Always come out of a posture asana when your breath or equilibrium is disturbed or there is a strain in the body. Cultivate a gradual progression, evolution within your yoga practice.
Right. So basically, just principles. The main principle is the breath. It's kind of like a dance. So you're moving with the breath. And some people think that the body moves first, but actually the breath that moves the body. So like the inhale brings your arms up. So that's and then the exhale brings the arms down. So you kind of feel like it's a dance between the breath and the movement. And again, always be mindful, always be safe. If something doesn't feel right, trust yourself and come out of it. Nobody knows your body better than you. So it is important for your students to also know that, right? All right. So, and then again, you go at your own pace. You find the modifications that you need for yourself. Not everybody can do everything. Sometimes you're like, okay, touch your toes, and people will be like, you're like, there's no way I can touch my toes, right? So just being mindful of those things. Basic techniques of vinyasa flow. Do you want to read, Belen, or should I give it to Kathleen?
Oh, yeah, I give it to her because I'm taking notes.
Okay, Kathleen, go ahead.
Okay. Basic techniques of vinyasa flow. Vinyasa flow. Asana postures, which are standing poses, balance poses, back bends, twists, forehead bends, forward bends, hip openers, and inversions. The Ujjayi pranayama, the victorious breath. Distri gaze, placement of eyes for concentration and inner and outer balance. And then it's the three bandhas, or the other known as locks or gathering of energy, which are the number one is the Mula Bandha, which is the root lock, the Uddiyana Bandha, which is to fly up, lifting of the lower belly, and the other one is the Jalandhara Bandha, which is the chin lock. Also, it's the grounding and the stabilizing the pose. So where is the anchor within the pose? The activation, where is the pose activated or where is it initiated from? The elongation, which is what direction is the spine elongating, and the relationship. What is the relationship from one pose to the next?
Right. So just touching on some of these points. Well, the asanas, you already know there's all kinds of them. Then Ujjayi Pranayama is mainly the breath that we use in Ashtanga. So other types of yoga, we use different kinds of breath, but Ashtanga uses the Ujjayi breath, which is the ocean breath that we did with Belen. And then we'll explain that when we do our practice. Always through the nose. Then the drishti is basically where you place your focus. So when you open your eyes, 70% of your attention goes to where your eyes go. So even when you see brain scans, you open your eyes and your brain goes, your brain waves go instantly crazy, right? So where you focus your eyes is very important, not just for balance, but in general for concentration. So we do work, so one of the 8 limbs is that concentration, and then we work with the eyes. Basically, that's what we like, look at your thumb or look at your nose, or, sometimes you can close your eyes and also go inside, right? It's almost like looking inside of you. The bandhas are, so they're called energy locks. So basically you're an energetic being, and then there's certain techniques that you use to circulate the energy. So the first one is the root lock, which is at the perineum. So it's like squeezing your perineum.
Oh,
So it says that they say from an energetic perspective, a lot of the energy leaks out from those centers, or like you can help circulate it better. With the root lock is basically where your genitals are, which is, or right in between, which is like squeezing basically, and then it helps you gather energy in your body. And then like squeezing, and then it circulates this way, right? The second one is the Uddiyana Bandha, which is kind of like, if I have to explain it, it's like squeezing your belly in. It's like, and then you can squeeze it in almost like you're bringing the belly button between the rib cage, right? Or you can do it on exhalation. So you exhale everything and then you squeeze it in. That's the second one. And the third one is basically just bringing the chin in so that your spine is aligned. So almost like, instead of being like this, so just lightly in. And then you feel like the lock right here in your throat. So those are bandhas that we use, and they're kind of later on in the practice. We don't use them at the beginning because most people don't get it until later on, right? But it is important. And then so the next page is, I think it is. So what do you guys have for the next page?
What's on the
I have the yamas and the niyamas,
Yamas and
and then
Okay.
and then I think it's like a
Yeah, me too. And I think it's like the Sanskrit chanting.
So is the Sanskrit chanting first or after the
Well, I
niyama?
have it first.
First, I have it first too. So this is
yeah.
the chant that Ashtanga Yoga uses. To be honest, I barely ever use it. I sometimes play it because I do like mantras in general. But mantras are sounds, so that you understand, mantras are sounds that have been around for a really, really long time. So Ashtanga is about 10,000, I think, years old, something like that. So these sounds have been repeated over and over again. And then so sound is vibration. So when you talk about energy, you are light, so light, right? Light that comes from the sun. Sound, which is and vibration, which is movement, right? So everything vibrates at a specific frequency. So these chants have frequencies, and so these frequencies help you align your energy, your body as an energetic being, right? Anyway, I'm gonna play it so that you can hear it. I will also chant it with it. It's true.
Vande Gurunam Charanarvinde Sandarashita Swatma Sukhavabhule Nishveyase Jangalikaya Mane Samsara Hala Hala Mohashantyay Abahu Purushakaram Shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasrashirasam Shwetam Pranamami Patanjali.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. If you can look it up too on YouTube, you'll find it. But basically, what it means is I bow to the two lotus feet of the gurus, which awaken insight into the happiness of pure being, which are the refugee, the jungle physician, which eliminates the delusion caused by the poisonous herb of samsara. Samsara is conditioned existence. So basically, what's written already in your brain or in your being, right? I prostrate before the sage Patanjali, who has thousands of radiant white heads as the divine serpent Ananta, and who has, as far as his arms, assumed the form of a man holding a conch shell, divine sound, a wheel, discus of light or infinite time, and a sword, which is discrimination. So sometimes if you like, for example, if you go to teach at a school, I would I almost never I'll use it for myself, but I don't really teach it because then you get into, oh, why are you using Patanjali? Why are you really bowing to his feet, which some people could start thinking that it is religious, basically. So that's not your God, and like some religions are very specific about those things. um, they will think that that it's a double worship or something. Anyway, okay. But so Elizabeth, why don't you read on the topic of mantras and chanting on the next page?
Okay. Um, Tremendous energies are constantly at work in man. Generally, they are wasted in faulty thinking, feeling, and planning on lower level. Through displacement and sublimation, this psychic energy must be kept from running down and outward. Displacement is like taking money from the bank, and sublimation is like putting that money to good use. Chanting means sublimation of psychic energy from lower to higher level. Definition of the word mantra, man, is to think, and tram is protection. Thus, mantra means protection through right thinking. All of our right thinking protects us. Mind has obsessive compulsive tendencies. Through mantras, we use these tendencies constructively. What comes automatically, we cannot overcome, but we can overcome anything that we create purposely. Chanting requires energy. When we chant, energy is withdrawn from anxiety, which also needs energy to exist. Therefore, anxieties and difficulties are removed through chanting. A mantra is an affirmation of divine truth. When chanting, you can make your own tune and rhythm. Chanting opens channels for right thinking and right imagination. We already suffer from wrong imagination, and no one can live without imagination. So learn to imagine right. Amen to that. Repeating mantras over and over may be crazy, but by such controlled craziness, we destroy uncontrolled craziness. Eventually, chanting mantras will be left behind, but for the present, it is better than negative destructive tendencies. When chanting, bring God into your mood and heart. Feel the presence of the divine within you.
So pretty much is ways to calm the mind and ways to direct your attention towards something that's more purposeful, and then brings you to like your thinking to a higher level. And it's all about controlling the mind, really.
Yeah, they also say like even singing helps to reduce stress, anxiety. Like even if you don't know how to sing, just like when you're singing to your favorite tune, it like reduces stress automatically, especially when you're using your voice, like really like passionately. So combining that with like meaningful words of love to yourself, that is powerful.
Yeah, it really is more about that, right? About that connection with the vibration of your voice, and just basically directing the mind to something that is constructive, right? Like obviously we're talking about the very basics of what yoga is, and we have to bring that into our daily life. How how does that translate? Go ahead.
In the book, The Body Keeps the Score, there's a chapter dedicated to sound and how important it is to a like join human beings together. And they say that one of the interesting things is that, for example, in the military, they use chanting a lot, they use singing, in remote areas of, I don't remember the exact stories, but how chanting and, lullabies together with other group, with people and things like that, it really, really has the like a unifying, it's like a unifying force. I recommend everyone read that book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's the most amazing book.
Okay, that's good.
Wait, what is it called?
The Body Keeps the Score, and you could have it. I could send it to you for free in Audible if you need it. It is a life-changing book. I read it, I listened to it 4 times, and if I can, whenever I need to be reminded or kind of brought back to like earth, I listen to it when I walk my dog. The Body Keeps the Score. If you want, I can send you the free Audible if you've never used Audible.
Okay.
Or we'll take it. And yeah, I mean, so sound is a universal language. It's something that everybody can connect to, and it needs no explanation. Also, you already know, like there's music that you hear and it's already like either it makes you scared or makes you happy, and because it is a vibration, so it's just basically using um music or or sound to create a vibration in your being, basically, or like manage your emotions or direct your attention. But definitely sound is universal language that we can all connect to.
Can I share something too? I'm sorry before you go. Um, I used to practice like a ashtanga. And I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm like, the whole time you're talking, I'm like, what's the difference between Astanga and Ashtanga? Because I noticed that Melinda said she said something, and then she's like, no, not with the H. But I'm Googling right now, but it basically, it's the same thing. It's just Ashtanga. Ash is Sanskrit, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, some people say Ashtanga, some people say Ashtanga. Same with the Sanskrit terms that they use. Sometimes they'll change it up a little.
Yeah. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to share. I'm sorry. It won't take too much time, but I feel like I want to share it. I'm sorry. So I used to like practice it, and like I got this like Ashtanga book, and like it's very like it could be very hard to do, like I remember when like I was always into stretching and everything, but I was like, I love stretching. Like, this is the best thing. Like, I love it. Like, and then like I kind of got into like, I'm like, oh, Ashtanga, and like I started learning more about yoga. This was like more than 5 years ago, and like I ended up starting and doing Ashtanga. Like I remember I couldn't sit on my knees. Like it would hurt the back of my knees, and like now it's not a problem because I stretch regularly. But that's besides the point. But there's a video that I found on YouTube that there's this girl that she chants that, like, and everybody repeats it, And I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, I never knew, and I never even cared to like Google it. I just knew it was a chant that, and I didn't know it was only for Ashtanga. So it's funny that now like I'm seeing it now, but like in my head, like I haven't watched that video. I haven't really done that in like months, but like it's been in my head lately. I'm like Patanjali. I'm like, I remember the last one. It's Patanjali, and like because we have the Yoga Sutra book, which is Patanjali, and I'm like, is that the same Patanjali? I'm like, why am I buying? Like, is this? It's like it's people can like misconstrue it with like a religion, you know, like you're bowing down to this person, and like I'm like, I don't know, but like now you're saying like, oh yeah, Patanjali, it is talking about him, but like now and then reading the back of the page, I'm just like, you know what, I could take it. I'm like, I don't want to do it because it has his name. Like I thought in my head, but like seeing the sound and the chanting, like you could, because I would do it, I would say it, and like I would feel relaxed, you know, doing it. So like it's reassuring to like read this, and like, you know, it's I wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing. And yes, I mean, so if you go to Indian religion, so they mixed it up because yoga started in with the, you know, you could say maybe the, I don't know if it was the Buddhist, but it started basically religious people started to practice yoga, and that's more to really connect internally, right? It's a form of meditation, right? It's a form of, you could say prayer is a form of meditation as well, right? So it does get mixed up, especially if you go to the basics of Indian yoga with the religious aspect, and they have a lot of gods, they have a lot of different like, if you Google mantras, you'll find all kinds of mantras, and even modern ones. So Belen was saying that Tina Turner has a mantra as well. So you even people nowadays, they create their own mantras. A mantra is something that you repeat over and over that gives you peace and gives you that sense of self, because yoga is ultimately about, you know, that you as being the best version of you, or the highest version of you, right? The best you can be. So you can pick your own mantras. You can see which ones really resonate with you or really make you feel.
Yeah, I like the chant, like, but I now like knowing that like that it is like it's kind of like just like saying, oh, like thank you Patanjali for like, because he's the one that made the sequence, right? Like the Ashtanga. So it's nice to appreciate, you know.
Yeah.
So I'll take it as that. So
Yeah.
it's just like it feels good to like go over this. So I'm happy.
Definitely. All right, so Elizabeth, why don't you read on the topic of Sanskrit? Sanskrit is the language that, you know, the Indian
Yes. Says you cannot change the human mind, but you can change its contents. When mental contents change, here by change, I mean transformation of the mind through Sanskrit, then automatically our hearts become the divine center of unity. Because Sanskrit is the cosmic language, the mother of all languages. Modern languages are famous for multiplication, while Sanskrit is renowned for unity. Therefore, in addition to modern languages, we need Sanskrit, the language of the heart, the language of integration. The whole universe, including God, the Vedas, and all the holy scriptures, are within one's own consciousness. The microcosmos is contained within the macrocosmos. It remains one's own effort to help this inner tree of Godhood blossom into its full form. If any devotee makes an effort towards that, then the grace of the divine is eternally available in every point of time and space.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, well, they speak of Sanskrit as the language that unites, and then you know, you could take that as it is. It's the language of where yoga originated. Yoga is all about unity. So if you Google what yoga means, the word is union. So it's union of your mind, your body, your spirit. It's union of everyone. Like we're all one. At a very, if you go deep to the cells, into the atoms that make us up, you know, we're all the same. Basically, we're all the same. We're just vibrating at different um, frequencies. But yeah, I mean,
That's a good way of putting it.
right.
Vibrating at different frequencies. I'm gonna quote you.
But then again, like if you look at a rainbow, so it's all light, just different colors because they're different frequencies, right? So it's the yellow and the green. But if there was no yellow and green, then everything would just pretty much look the same. So it's kind of that acceptance of the differences, but also knowing that we're all the same light, right? Anyways, do you guys want to take a little break or maybe do a yoga pose? I feel like it's stretch. Maybe do like a downward facing dog from, and we'll continue on. Maybe come into upward facing dog. Feel your breath. Just do any movement that you feel like you need right now. All right, I feel better.
Me too.
So much reading. Let's wait for Bella to come back. Okay, so we're back. Anyway, so yeah, so these are the basics of Ashtanga. It's 8 limbs. You know that the breath is the Ujjayi breath. It's always the same sequence. There's 67 poses in the first series. We're not gonna do all of them. Some of them are super hard, to be honest. Like and as you said, it's a very strict practice, but because it's been around for so long, and people really respect this practice because of its, like purity. So it is a good basis to start your own practice. You can modify it however you want, in my opinion. Nowadays, if you talk to a Korashtani, they're like, no, you cannot modify everything. But then again, that's very
Close-minded.
Never mind.
that's very close-minded, and the whole idea of yoga is to really expand and expand your mind. So if you look at something too rigidly, then you're not being flexible, which is the whole point, right? So anyways, when we go to so let's read the yamas and niyamas quickly. So these are again, so we start with the 8 limbs. The 2 first limbs are yamas and niyamas. I'll start with the yamas. The first one is ahimsa, which is non-violence, awareness and gentleness in action, thought and speech. Violence rises out of fear, anger, ignorance, restlessness, selfishness. Practice, so instead of these things, practice compassion, love, understanding, patience, self-love, unworthiness. And we always start with ourselves. So even though you're teaching this to other people, it's always about you. So non-violence means, like don't do a pose that's gonna hurt you. Or if you feel like maybe the person next to you is doing a pose and you want to do it like them, or you're comparing yourself, that's also violating that principle, because the idea is to be gentle with yourself, to be compassionate with yourself, to be loving and understanding to yourself, and even patient, and feeling that sense of self-worth. So always starting with you and then expanding out to others, right? So the second one is, who wants to read? Kathleen, go.
Satya, truthness. Do I read all of them?
Yeah, no, just read what it means.
Oh, truthfulness of speech, thoughts, deeds, practice, honesty, owning feelings, loving communication, assertiveness, giving constructive feedback, forgiveness, non-judging, letting go of masks. Can't do that because of COVID. The F of the tongue needs to needs a giant to control it. Wait, I don't get that. The elf of the tongue needs the giant to control it.
So I think I don't know what it means exactly, but what the thing that it wants to say is basically watch your tongue. So a lot of the things that we say, so just like we say, there's thoughts, there's words, there's actions. It's kind of like
Bite your tongue, like bite your tongue, like right.
like watch your tongue. Sometimes we like out of emotion will say things that mean that happen to everyone, including myself. And it's just more about gaining control of that vibration that you cannot take back once you say it. So anyway, all learning, right? But then it's like, okay, you have to be compassionate to yourself, when you do it, right? Not being too harsh. Just learning to be better. Anyway, next.
Asteya, non-stealing, not converting, not being jealous, use object the right way, proper time management, cultivate sense of completeness, self-sufficiency, and let go of cravings.
Yeah, so this is all it's mostly like moral principles, I would say. Like, not stealing is not just material, right? It is more about you can steal time, you can steal, you can steal attention, you can steal a lot of things. Just being mindful, I would say,
Yeah.
yourself. Okay, next. Brahma, or do you want to read, Belen? Brahmacharya is moderation, channeling emotions, basically. No overindulgence of mind, intellect, speech, body. Moderation on all levels concerning sex, food, all aspects of daily life, including the environment. Not repression, but control of sensual cravings. So again, this is not about, so if you go to the religious aspect, it's like, oh, sex is bad, or this is bad. Like, it's not good or bad. It's just part of life. Like, if there was no sex, there would be no life, right? If there was no food, we couldn't live, or etc. So it's just really about moderation, keeping a balance. So anything in excess is bad, and anything that is controlled too much also, or repressed too much, also has bad consequences, because then the shadow aspect comes out. So it's really accepting the good and the bad, however you see it, and just try to keep a moderation. Okay, next. Kathy.
Aparigarha, fulfilling needs rather than wants, cultivate non-attachment to possessions and relationships.
Right. So this is about non-attachment, and you can take it to all kinds of levels, like attachment to material, attachment to people. Just try to maintain connection without attaching, and even attachment to outcomes, right? To thinking, okay, somebody has to react this way, or like expectations and things like that. So it's a lot of self-work, really. Mhm. Okay, next, Niyamas.
Yeah, Shausha, purity, purity of body, cleanliness, good health habits, cultivate is fullness of mind, thoughts, speech, and discrimination.
Right. So purity it starts with the body. So we try to eat healthy, we try to eat clean, and then as we do that, also purity of mind. So the information that we watch is important. Like if you're watching news all the time, that's all the information that your brain is receiving, right? And you're consciously only using a very small portion of your brain. Everything else is getting processed in the background. So if you're always receiving bad news, that's affecting you at some levels, right? And even purity of emotion. So not meaning that you cannot have anger, or you're gonna experience all kinds of emotions, but it's really about managing them. So it's kind of like a wave that comes and goes. So being able to feel it, experience it, and detach from it as well, right? And sometimes hard to do. Okay, next. Santosha, so that's contentment. Accept what is, make the best out of everything. Cultivate gratitude and joyfulness. Remain calm with success or failure. This state of mind does not depend on any external status. And this is just like you find with whatever is. You know, I have this and I don't have this, or I did good or I didn't do good, and just being fine with everything that happens. And again, to not attach, just be happy, be grateful and grateful. Just even thinking, okay, I am here right now, like all my cells in this moment, they are gathered together so that I can be here with you, and that's amazing. That's a miracle. Okay, next, tapas.
Tapas. Yeah. You want me to read?
Uh,
Tapas austerity.
this is
The, huh?
I think it was Kathleen's turn.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I have no idea.
No, I don't. It doesn't matter.
Go ahead,
No,
Kath.
just read it. Just read it. Yeah.
Okay. Then you can read the next one. The willingness to do what is necessary to reach a goal with discipline. Cultivate is determination to pursue daily practices, enthusiasm for the spiritual path. Joyfulness with outer discipline will lead to inner discipline.
Yeah, so this is also important because you can be joyful and you can be accepting of everything and everyone or whatever, but also you have to have your goals, and you have to you have to have that motivation to reach them, and that discipline. So it's all about really practice and discipline in yoga. So basically to doing it. You can talk about it all you want, but unless you do it, unless you do the physical practice, the meditation, then it's all in your head, and it doesn't really do anything if it's in your head. You have to feel it, right? So the discipline in yoga is very important. Okay, now Kathleen, your turn.
Savadhyaya is expanding knowledge through reading, pondering to understand the scriptures, reflection, meditation, and wanting to know the truth.
So just study, and this is what we're doing. So good for you. Okay, and then Ishwara Pranidhana, surrender to God. Cultivating faith, dedication, sincerity, patience to transcend the ego, which is so resistant to surrender. And again, this is also very spiritual in itself. It's basically that faith, and that doesn't have to be a specific God or anything, just faith in life, faith in, there's a higher power or something that moves everything and makes everything happen, right? Any questions, any thoughts? Could be opinions as well.
I would just say that it's good to I think these are really good what's it called? It's a really good way to meditate and maybe just choose one for the week and then just read it and meditate it. And then that kind of installs in your own practice when you're thinking about it, especially the austerity, the tapas. I like that one. I like to have things on my wall, like posts that I can look at. And I have one that's says mindfulness, and every time I'm doing Warrior 2, I end up that's my drishti and looking at it as I'm breathing. So it's a good way to bring this into your own practice. It's just choosing one maybe for the week and then just reading it. This is definitely something that I do. That I share.
Yeah, that's a great point. Also, you can use this yamas and niyamas as the beginning of your practice when you're doing a centering or when you're creating an intention. You can use one of them and say, okay, I wanna focus today's practice in nonviolence and what it means, right? Or maybe read something about it. Just taking care of your body, not harming yourself or others, right? Or any others. You just use these as contemplation points, even when you do a meditation or even bring the elements throughout when you're teaching, right? You can find elements within the poses themselves. Okay, good. All right, so now we get to the more specifics, right? So specifics about the Ashtanga. So the next one I hope you have is we start with Surya Namaskara A, correct?
Mm,
Yes.
yeah.
All right, so this is, so again, Ashtanga is very specific, very specific. Like they count every breath. So every breath has a purpose to that point, right? And and uh, and every breath has details as well. So the first thing that we do, first we introduce the Ujjayi breath, right? That's the first thing that we do. And I'm gonna introduce it to you. So kind of like the way that I explain it, and you can find your own ways. So some people call it the ocean breath, some people call it the Darth Vader breath. So what you're gonna do is, so the first thing you do, if you want to do the chant, you do the chant, or you can do an om at the beginning as well. And usually it starts in standing, but we're seated, so it's fine. You can also, again, you'll modify as you see it, right? So making sure that your spine is straight, just bringing the awareness to the breath, and then first start inhaling through the nose, exhale, sigh out through your mouth. As you feel your body, relax your shoulders. Now inhale again through the nose. Exhale out through your mouth. Now you're gonna inhale through the nose and then exhale through the nose only. Notice how the breath changes. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose only. Now you're gonna imagine that you're constricting the back of your throat, almost like you're preventing the passage of air as you inhale. And then exhale, imagine that you're passing the air through the back of your throat, like there's a little straw in the back of your throat. And you're pushing the breath out. One more time, inhale, and try to start creating that sound of the ocean through your breath as you're breathing through the back of your throat. And then exhale. So you can also explain it as like you're fogging up a mirror as you exhale, almost like. So anyways, you can release it, but basically the whole point is for you to control the breath. So breath control is one of the key elements of yoga. Sometimes it can feel like too much, so you want to say if you need to exhale through your mouth, that's okay too. But it also helps you control, keep a mind on yourself. So when you're inhaling, exhaling through the nose, and you're doing this poses, sometimes it may feel like you're straining yourself, so you have to change the pattern of breathing, or you have to exhale through the mouth. But it is a way for you to come back to the present moment, to your own body, right? So that's the breath that we use. We try to explain it at the beginning. If you have other ways to explain it, you will get a chance to do so that we can all learn from each other, right? And then we start with Surya. So once you introduce the Ujjayi breath, we start with the sun salutation. So the sun salutations are a way to warm up the body, to activate your cardiovascular system. The first sun salutation, there's two sun salutations. There's sun salutation A, sun salutation B. A has 9 breaths. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale 9 times. And then sun salutation B has 17 breaths. We're gonna practice them, and maybe Belen, since you've already seen this or part of it, do you feel comfortable, or I'll guide the first one. We're not gonna do all of them. Or do you feel comfortable doing A? And then I
do. Just let me pull out my paper because I do have it on paper.
I'll guide the first one and you can guide the rest.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
listen,
I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna step out from this one because like I'm starting to get like blockage in the nose
uh-huh.
and a little bit of like mucus. So I don't want to like bring my head down.
Okay, I understand. So no worries. Yeah,
But I will point out this, like when I do, I mean, I do my own sun salutation. And since I do have weak joints, and then I have the heart condition, I do focus a lot of like pranayama. Maybe I do like 10 minutes of pranayama before I even start my practice because I do need to make sure that I have that rhythm of breath going
Mhm.
once I get into sound salutation. And usually after I'm done, like I don't have like any like when I went to use the yoga practice, when I used to go to a yoga class, my heart would race and I was like, oh man, like I'm out of breath. But when I do like a 5-10 minute pranayama before and centering, before doing anything like this, there's nothing like because I'm so like into my breath. So that's definitely like the ujjayi and all that. It's wonderful, for
Which
like
which pranayama would you use? Ujjayi? In this case?
I no, I would start with Darga and then Ujjayi. And then if I wanted to, I'll do Nadi Shona with Ujjayi.
I mean,
And I just yeah, yeah. And it's a little bit more to the extreme Nadi Shona with Ujjayi.
Mhm.
But that really gets me into like focusing on my breath. And then that's like a huge warm up for me too once I start doing
Right.
any kind of yoga.
Yeah, it would be
But
nice
I do, yeah.
tell us how you would modify. So you're telling us you would add a pranayama at the beginning, which could be Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril.
Well, I no, well, if I was teaching it to somebody, I wouldn't do Narishwana or Jog. Because like my practice, I do focus a lot on like I can take an inhalation in Narishona and it'll take me like 15 seconds because my practice in pranayama is very deep. But if I was teaching this, I would start with Darga to warm up the breathing muscles and then introduce Ujjayi into like 5 to 7 rounds of Ujjayi. But that's to the extreme. I don't know if people would stay there for that long.
Yeah.
And then that really gets my mind into like going into the asanas and the importance of using the breath to move through them.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. So I'm just gonna dive. We're not gonna do all of them really. I just want to get a feel for them. So it's all about feeling the sun salutation in your body because the best way you can guide someone is by first feeling it, and then that's how you will be able to let others know what they need to do. So I want you to stand at the very tip of your mat. So imagine that your mat is a diving board, right? I don't know if you can see well here. So imagine that your mat is a diving board. And you're gonna bring the toes to the tip of your mat and bring your feet together if it's acceptable to you, right? Now make sure that you watch your legs. So make sure that your feet are aligned, first of all. And make sure that your quads are engaged, almost like you're lifting the kneecaps. And you're gonna take the arms to the sides into mountain pose, opening the chest. Make sure that your tailbone is not out, so you're tucking the tailbone in slightly, almost like you're bringing your abs, you're engaging your abs. Arms to the sides. And you're going to imagine there's a thread attached at the top of your head that's lifting you up, making you taller. Your chin is parallel to the ground. Your palms are shining forward, right? And now your attention, your drishti in this pose is at the tip of your nose. So you're looking at the tip of your nose here. And now as you're here, engage in your ujjayi breathing, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. Feel your feet really planted on the ground. Now on the next inhale, you're gonna raise the arms all the way up, palms together touch, and you look up at your thumbs. And then exhale, open the arms, one leg forward, and bend all the way down, nose towards your knees. You can bend the knees if you need to. Now inhale, hands on the shins or on the ground, look forward, lengthen the spine, looking at the forehead, towards the forehead. Open, and then exhale, hands to the mat. Take the legs back into a high plank, making sure your shoulders are above your wrists, engaging the core, and slowly as you exhale, come all the way down into chaturanga or the low plank, right? Or you can come all the way down to the ground. Now inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. So open the chest, look up towards your third eye or your forehead. Tuck your toes under, exhale, downward facing dog. And now here in downward dog, we stay here for 5 breaths. You can pedal the heels if you need to. Make sure that your chin is towards the chest. Your feet are about hand-10 distance apart. Keep breathing through the nose for 1 more breath. Inhale, exhale through the nose. 5. Inhale, look at the space between the hands. Walk your feet towards the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold again, chin to chest, like you're looking at your navel. Inhale, rise up, arms come up, palms together, touch. Exhale, hands to heart center, Samasthiti. So we say Samasthiti is back to your center. When I say Samasthiti, I want you to look at where you're standing and come back to the tip of your mat where you started. So it's almost like you're bringing yourself to center, not just physically, but also mentally and in your whole being, right? So feet together again. So we're gonna do this one more time. Open the arms to the sides a little bit faster. I know this was slow. Inhale, lift your arms up, palms together, touch. Look up at your thumbs. Exhale, swan dive forward, nose towards your knees, chin to the chest. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Look at your third eye. Plant your hands to the mat. Exhale, chaturanga dandasana. Keep the elbows in as you come into low plank. You can place the knees down if you need to. Inhale, push into upward facing dog. Try to lift the thighs off the ground and your toes in, right? Exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Ujjayi breathing. 1. Beautiful. 2. Open the feet a little bit more, Belen, and keep bringing the heels towards the ground. 4. Beautiful, good job. 1 more breath. 5. Inhale, look forward. Walk, or you can jump slightly towards your hands. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, fold your head down again. Inhale, roll up, arms come up, palms together, touch. Look up at your thumbs. Exhale, hands to the heart. Samasthiti. Do you want to guide a third one, Belen?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
okay. Come to the top of your mat. Inhale, lift your arms up. Look at your thumbs. Bend your back and bend your back. Come down, bring your arms down in a swan dive forward. Chest to knees, chin to chest. And lift halfway, place hands in your shins, look forward. Come back down, place your palms in your mat. And let's go to high plank. Come down to your mat, come down to the mat. And inhale and lift your chest into cobra or upward dog. Tuck your toes in. Lift your hips up into a downward facing dog. And let's take 5 breaths here. You can pedal your feet or you could bend your knees a little bit and stretch. 3, 4, 5. Walk or jump and bring your feet towards your hands. Place your hands in your shin and stretch your spine. Look forward towards your third eye. Inhale, and as you exhale, come down. Place mats in your mat, place your hands in the mat. And as you inhale, lift your arms up and place them and look up to your thumbs. Stretch backwards. Bring down your palms together in Samasthiti, right?
Mhm.
There you go. I did the best I could.
You did great.
Okay.
So it is a lot of elements. So sometimes, as you probably felt, like I was trying to cram everything in one breath.
My summary.
So
Even
you
if you want to-
can share that with the group because that was great. Can you share that one?
I can share it. Yeah, I'll send it to.
Yeah, she did a little chart.
Yeah, let me. Okay.
So my suggestion, and again, I just need you to get a feel for the 9 breaths. But my suggestion is like the first time you teach it without the breath. Just because you want to focus more on the body and on alignment. So breath is something that you add on later. But I just wanted you to get a feel for the 9 breaths. So really understanding that each breath has a purpose and a movement, right? Anyways, and as you see, so if you go back to the worksheet, each breath, so it's like inhale, and you have the Sanskrit numbers there, which you can learn if you feel inclined to do. But each breath has a drishti. So drishti is where your eyes are focused. So the first one is ekam, look to your thumbs. So inhale up, look at your thumbs. Then dui, exhale, fold forward, and you're looking at your nose there, right? Inhale, Trini, halfway lift. So I'll just demonstrate. Halfway lift is look at your third eye, which is the space between the eyebrows. Then exhale, hands to the mat. You come into low plank, maybe chaturanga, and this is look at your nose. Inhale, push your hips forward. Untuck your toes. Look up at your third eye. So this is your drishti, third eye again, and then tuck your toes under. Exhale, downward facing dog, and then the downward facing dog is pancha. It's at your navel, right? So your navel, your belly button. So the idea of looking at your navel, so maybe you'll see like, but I can't see my navel here. The idea is for you to really bring the chin to the chest, right? So you're really getting that stretch here in the back of your neck. So you see, like if you're trying to look at your navel, you have to bring the chin in, right? And then in that breath, so in pancha, in the shat, you stay here for 5 breaths. 1, and you count your breath, 2, 3, 4, 5, ujjayi breathing. Sapta, inhale. So you're here, inhale, look forward. And sapta, it's kind of like one breath. So you look forward and you jump and you lengthen the spine. And here you're looking at your third eye. Then ashtau is exhale, ashtau 8, chin to chest, fold forward. Fold forward, you're looking at your nose. Then inhale, arms up. Look at your thumbs. And then exhale, hands to the heart. Again, samasthiti. So this is look at your nose. So each one has a drishti point. You may not be able to say all of them as you're teaching, but at least you know, and then you can pepper them in as you teach your class. I guess Kathleen had to go. She had to go. Anyway, that is sun salutation A. So I want to ask Elizabeth, how would you guide this, if you would guide this to yourself?
To myself, I think I like the drishti part because I don't think I've ever, haven't really done that too much when I'm doing a practice because I really just focus on my heart rate.
Mhm.
So like I focus a lot on my breath, making sure that I'm calm and I'm breathing through each as I'm going through the asanas,
Mhm.
because that's my main concern. And but if I was guiding this, I think, like you said, it was demonstrating it or just going through the postures first, or like maybe the first couple of sessions and then adding the breath, but just letting them know, like, like go through each of them calmly. Um, uh, I wrote a lot of the things that you were once when you were doing it. I was writing some of the key things, like I think the mountain pose, the samashishti, like how you said, oh, just notice your quads, uh, open your chest, and standing tall. And I wrote that down because I would definitely, like, in the beginning, it's good to just have them notice and prepare physically and mentally to go into sun salutation. Um, and the drishti for the first one, I would use it, and then the dive to, um, I don't know how to say it. Like I think, yeah, if I was doing it, if I would have done it, I would have like better explanation. I have a lot of like weakness in my wrists, so like going through like going through the plank and then the upper dog, I'm always really careful with that. And then to downward dog. So I would just tell them to really focus on the palms, like opening their fingers, and really like noticing how they're placing their hands on the mat when once they're in the plank in the upward and downward dog.
Mhm.
Um, and then just also like I think uh, in the downward dog, one of my yoga therapists, she really mentioned how like when you're doing those 5 breaths, she said to just soften the belly, just relax the belly and allow just the breath to go in and out naturally. Especially because 5 breaths, I can't do 5 breaths. Maybe if I'm really mentally prepared, I would be able to do it. But if I was teaching it to somebody that's maybe never practiced yoga, or doesn't have a lot of upper body strength or like a lot of that, I would just like I would key that just like, oh, just relax into that pose, relax the belly. Um, what's it called? And then also the neck. I would also point out the neck to just keep the neck. Just make sure that you're not overextending it. That you're using a lot of like in downward dog. That your feet and your hands are really anchored. Um, and
Mhm.
then as we're coming up, I would emphasize just to like that. I would just take my time cueing because we don't want to hurt the back as you're coming up,
Yeah.
especially if people haven't done a sun salutation and never really used their upper body. It's just um, bringing their what's it called, bringing themselves up a vertebrae at a time.
Yeah.
Um, and and then when you go back to Samastriti, bringing them back into like that centering of how they're supposed to feel in that pose, like feel yourself grounded. Uh, I don't know. Those are things that come up to mind, like from my own practice. Yeah. Because
And
like
that's
if you're able to like really when you're going in downward dog or you're in a plank, um, and you're using your hands and a lot, for me it's just like really focusing that I'm using like the inner here that I'm pushing. Because me, if you I don't know if you guys can notice, me, um, I can't really go up like more than this. Like that's my limit. So I can't really like bring my wrist up, and then my fingers in the beginning of my practice, my fingers will go up like this, and I would just use like this, like I would just gauge in.
like
But for me, yeah, for me, it's just like really focusing on using this part, and that even just right now I'm shaking a little bit, but because I'm showing you, but pushing this part, like using this, like I would tell them like, oh, just feel like you're pushing in and feel like your fingers are really like, or like how Melinda said, like you're like it's like a suction cup, like um
yeah.
yeah, those are good things that I
And that's all of those are great cues. I'm going to, so I don't know, Belen, if you can maybe share yours, because I know you have a very good chart. I don't know where I have it. I know you sent it to me, but I would have to find it. But if you want to take notes, you know, I will go, at least for the sun salutation A today, I will go one by one and I will tell you specifically what to focus on those specific poses, right? And even if, I don't know if you have, so there's the little, you can either use this one, okay, you see mine is all, has notes all over it, the Ashtanga flow, or you could do, there's another one, this one, which says sun salutation A, right? I don't know if you have it or you can find it. And I can tell you the specific things to watch for, right? So if you can find that page with the Surya Namaskara A. Surya Namaskara A. And then again, Surya Namaskara A means sun salutation. So Surya is sun. Namaskar is salutation. So we salute the sun, pretty much, is what it means. And then you see that there's 9 breaths there, the ones that I told you, when each one has a, so that's a Sanskrit term for the number, right? So the first one is Samastitihi. We call it, well, if you read there, it says Samastiti, but we'll say Samastitihi. That's the way I learned it. So Samastitihi is really much, pretty much mountain pose. So things to watch out for first, make sure that you're at the top of your mat. And if possible, that your feet are together so that your big toes are touching, right? Now, engage your kneecap. What means is like engage the quad muscle so that your kneecap is, so that, you know, you feel that firmness in your lower body. So your lower body is very important. So as you, if you pay attention, you see that as we get older, the first things that always fail are either your feet, your knees, your legs, or your hips. So it's all lower body. So your lower body has to, you have to pay a lot of attention to, and you have to really keep it very strong. So Samatitihi, feet together, toes touching, kneecaps are engaged, right? Your spine is straight, your shoulders are back. So imagine that you're maybe like pinching something with your shoulder blades, almost like you have something there in between the wings, you could call it. Your arms are spread out, your palms, so your fingers are open, like everything has a purpose. So your fingers are open and your palms are shining forward. You can tuck the chin in slightly. So you don't want to be like this. You want to be, tuck your chin slightly so that you feel that stretch in the back of your neck, almost like you're pressing the back of the head against the wall, right? And again, you're always focusing on your feeling your breath, but then at the top of your head, I usually say that there's a thread attached at the very top and somebody's pulling you off towards it. It kind of makes you elongate a little bit more upwards, right? So anyway, feet together, top of the mat, toes touching. You can tell them to spread the toes because that's grounding, right? Engage the kneecaps. Roll your shoulders up and back. So you can say roll your shoulders up and back so that your chest opens. When your chest opens, you can breathe better. Everything moves better. Everything flows better inside, right? What else? Breathing in and out through the nose. Palms shining forward. Chin tucked in. And then once you have all the physical elements, you can tell them to focus on the breath. But I would keep the breath out at the beginning. I would focus more on form, especially the first few times, especially if it's a movie, because you don't want to guide the breath so soon. They will freak out, or they'll maybe get dizzy or something like that, right? So ekam is post the first breath is ekam, means 1. Inhale your arms up, palms together, touch. So I'm gonna tell you, a lot of the times some people cannot even bring their palms together because their shoulders are so tight. But you want to guide them towards that, right? So some people prefer to do it like this, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But when you do this, right, it creates more of an extension. The one thing to watch out for on this pose, so the first thing, so what you will see is that first people will stand with their feet in the wrong position. So that's already telling you. So maybe one foot is that way or the other foot. That's why you're like feet together, right? Because it guides you. And then kneecaps engaged, abdomen engaged, open your palm. Inhale, arms up. So inhale, arms up, palms together, touch, right? So first thing that people do, I'm gonna do it incorrectly, like this. So they'll bring the shoulders up to their ears. And you want to, this is a habit that a lot of people have because of so much tension in their shoulders. So what you want is for people, so the first thing you do, you're like relax the shoulders away from you. So you want to keep the arms nice and straight, so the elbows straight, and you want to keep the shoulders away from the ears, right? Almost like a ballerina. You don't want this, you want this, right? And then you look up at your thumb. So your gaze, your drishti is up the thumb. That's pretty much number one. So the one thing to watch out for. And then there's an adjustment. So when I teach you adjustment, there's a little adjustment. You just basically touch the back of right here, like you touch the actual muscles and bring them down like this, and you'll instantly bring the shoulders down. But that's another session of the adjustments. Like I wish I had somebody to adjust right now. I think my husband is available. So number 2 is Dui. So that's how you say it, Dui. And it's Uttanasana. So basically forward fold. So inhale, arms up, palms together, touch, look at your thumbs. Exhale, swan dive forward, Dui, right? Dui. And then here, so things to watch out for. So the chin is towards the chest, so you don't want to do this. So when you do this, you're putting a lot of pressure on the back of your head. Your neck already gets too much pressure. So when you're like this, you're creating even more. So you want them to relax the head. You want them to keep their feet together if it's accessible. This is an exhalation. And ideally, yes, the knees straight, right? If they cannot come all the way down to touch their toes, that's fine. You know, what's most important is that they get the strength. Also, something important is you don't want to have too much of a rounded. So you will have some, but not too much. I prefer to teach bend the knees so that the low back gets a stretch, right? So like if you look at this, so people will be so tight that they will round and they're actually putting a lot of pressure in the low back. So it's better if sometimes they bend the knees and they just tuck the chin. And then slowly they can start straightening the legs, right? And again, the first time you teach it, I teach it very slowly, just like I'm teaching you, because I want them to get the elements right? It's more important than just finding that flow, right? So exhale, fold forward. And then on Dui, can anybody tell me where the drishti is?
The what?
Look in your third eye, your what?
Drishti. The drishti is where
The third eye?
Huh?
No, wait.
It was on the other sheet. You have it. So it's the nose, basically.
Oh, I think I wrote it wrong.
Oh, Nasa agree.
The doing, yeah. So the forward fold, which is.
Oh.
Wait, what are you asking? I'm sorry.
So the drishti, so just so that I recap, drishti is where your eyes are looking. So where you focus your eyes is very important for concentration. So the inhale, arms up, this one, you're looking at your thumb. Then
Okay.
the exhale, fold forward, you're looking at your nose, right?
Where is that?
And the drishti.
No, she was explaining it earlier.
History? The district?
Yeah.
Gaze? The district gaze. Okay. Now I get you.
So
Wait, so can you say it again?
So in the first one, the ekam, which is number 1, inhale, arms up, palms together, touch, you're looking at your
Thumbs, right?
Then exhale, fold forward, which is Dui, number 2. Chin to chest, right? It's an exhale. And you want to put your gaze towards your nose. So gaze towards your nose. Got it?
Got it. Got it.
Then number 3 is Trini, which is Trini halfway up, halfway lift. Right, which is this one. So you're here at Trini. Inhale, halfway lift. And you can place your hands on the shins if you want. So one of the things people do is like they keep their shoulders rounded. You want to make sure that your chest is open. Almost like you're bring the shoulders back. You want to make sure your spine is straight. And here you're gazing at your third eye. Right? Got it?
Yeah.
Anything that you want to add, Belen, you can add as well.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah,
I have a lot of notes in there if they want to add to them. I'm adding to them as I see you.
got it. Perfect. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And then Chatwari. So number 4, Chatwari. That's how you, so it says Chatwari. It's Chaturanga. That's Chaturanga Dandasana. So it's really an exhale. So you're inhale. So imagine inhale. Halfway lift. You're looking at your third eye. Exhale. Hands on the mat. Low plank. So it's a very fast movement technically if you look at it from the breath perspective. So inhale, exhale. And then exhale, Chatwari. So what you can do. So a lot of people cannot do Chaturanga, first of all. I'm going to say that because it requires a lot of arm strength. But what you can do is you can lay the knees on the ground, bring the hips down like this. You can do this Chaturanga. But, so that is a modification. Another modification could be just come all the way down. Almost like a break, right? That could be another modification. And then, so Chaturanga, let's see, what are the elements? So first of all, you're here, right? Your elbows are almost like they're attached to your body. So you want to keep your elbows in. You're looking at your nose, right? You want to make sure that, so let me see, what other things you have to make sure? So the body is in line with the elbows and you're looking at your nose. Okay, that's pretty much it. So Chatwari. Looking at your nose, holding it in. So you want to come down. It's like a low plank, right? Or you can come all the way down. Even like I don't have the practice anymore. Then you untap your toes, right? Your hands have to be at your chest center. Inhale into upward facing dog. So inhale. You're lifting the thighs off the ground. So you're placing your balance point is on your top of your feet. You want to open the chest and you're looking up towards your third eye. So you don't want to do this. You don't want to crunch your neck. It's almost like, imagine it's a line, like a half circle, like from your toes all the way up to your head. Now, if you look at my hands, my wrists are right under my shoulders, right? And again, imagine it's like the energy shooting up through the top of your head. So as we say, like the grounding point is your top of your feet and then inhale. It's an inhale, so it goes up. Make sure that your palms, you're pressing through your palms and your fingers are straight, right? And here, so what else? Pretty much shoulders above wrist. You want to lift your thighs. So lifting the thighs requires also a lot of strength. You can also just do cobra. So cobra, especially you have to watch for somebody with low back. When they have like low back condition, low back pain, usually they'll have like the fifth vertebrae, the fourth and fifth vertebrae are usually messed up because of bad posture, right? So low back pain is a lot of times tied to that. But you can just do cobra. And then if somebody with if they have low back issues, you can tell them to just slightly bend it. So you don't want to create a super arch in the back with low back issues. So you may want to stay here, right? Just slightly focusing on just opening your chest. and bring the shoulder blades together. So like you could find somebody that rounds like this, and you want them to expand the chest, right? So that's a variation for upward facing dog. Then from there, so inhale here, and then tuck your toes under, right? Push your hips up and back into downward dog, right? So this is downward dog. So if you look at it, it's kind of like a pyramid, or it should be. So elements for downward dog is, first of all, your hands, right? So you want to spread your fingers and you want to push through the base of your palms, right? So you're pushing through the base of your palm. Your heels are trying to push down. So a lot of people cannot bring their heels to the mat. But the idea is for them to get a stretch here in their calf and the back of their legs, right? You want to push the hips back as much as possible. A lot of people you will see they have to round like this. They will round like this. They cannot, right? They cannot do it because of tightness, right? So you slowly, well, in those cases, when there's too much roundness, what I do is like, okay, bend your knees so that their back finds like a flat position, right? So if you see somebody like this and you're like, what is wrong with them? And you're like, take the heels back, and they cannot. They will like bring the hands back. They cannot straighten their back. So you're like, okay, bend your knees and find a straight line in the spine. Right? You can try it. I mean, you guys are pretty good at it, so you may not see it, but like you start seeing it as you teach people. You're like, okay, this person, I don't know how to guide this person because what there's something off about the way they do it. So but like bending the knees is always a good way to just flatten the back. And then you can tell them like you start straightening one leg and then the other, or pedal your feet. So something else to watch for. So first, your drishti, your gaze is towards the navel. So again, you may not be able to see your navel, but when you put your gaze there, you bring your chin to the chest. Again, you don't want this. You want somebody like this. You want somebody chin to chest. Chin to chest. Almost like you're trying to bring the head between your legs, right? What else? So the distance between your feet, we call that hang ten, which is this basically, right? This is hang ten. So if they have them two separated, you kind of gauge, right? So hang ten, do this, right? Okay. That's the distance between the feet. So chin to chest, feet hang ten distance apart. Pressing through the base of your palm, fingers straight. Again, you can bring the ujjayi element, gaze towards the navel. That is Chatwari, Kancha, Shats. And then here in downward dog, you stay for 5 breaths. And you want to count the breaths with them. You're 1, say 2, 3, and that helps them keep the focus. Sometimes they will not have the same rhythm as you, but you still want to count them, you know? And then, so we have a few more minutes left. Then, so from downward dog, sapta, which is number 7. So you're here. The first breath, the first time, first of all, I will not guide the breath, but it'll be like, as you inhale, walk towards your hands. When you get there, put the hands on the shins, look forward, lengthen the spine, right? And again, here, you can also use the same element. If you see that they're rounding too much, you can have them bend the knees so that their back is straight. So, sapta is downward dog. The fast version is inhale, look forward, walk or jump, lengthen the spine. So it's all one inhale. Inhale. That's how it looks like in the fast version. In the slow version, you could be inhale, look forward, walk or jump your feet, Hands and the shins, lengthen the spine. Got it? And then in this one, you want to make sure that their back is flat. Your gaze is towards your third eye. So you're like this, gazing. So basically here, right? And also you want to make sure that they bring the shoulders back because they go around like this. You want to make sure that shoulder blades together as much as possible, right? Then exhale, fold forward again. So imagine that you're bringing the navel towards the spine. You bring the chin to the chest. You can put the hands, if you reach, the hands come to the mat, right? Like you're grounding the hands as well. If you don't reach, you can just keep them here or like whatever, like grab the back of your legs. And then inhale, slowly rise up as you bring your arms up over your head, palms together, touch again, same one at the beginning. Looking up at your thumbs, making sure shoulders are away from the ears. Palms together. Also, tailbone tucked in. You don't want to go like Donald Duck. This is why a lot of times may look sexy, but a lot of times you get low back issues, especially later on, right? If you are like bringing your booty out. So it's more like this, like you're tucking it in slightly. And then exhale, hands to the heart center, which is Namastitihi. Come to the front of your mat again, if you're not already there. And that's pretty much it. For those are my notes on sun salutation. Do you guys have any questions?
That was great. I like that you like explained it really well. I wrote down everything. I mean, as much as I hope I can read it later, but it's okay. That was pretty good. I mean, sort of.
Better than mine. The list,
yeah, no,
you have
it's
to
pretty
share,
good.
share your organization skills. You're very good at it.
Thank you.
So that's pretty much it for socializations. You can read it, you can practice it, and kind of try to see if you can feel it in your body, each element, right? And that's the way that it'll sink in. If it sinks in your body, it'll sink, and it'll just become second nature to you. The first time you teach it, you're like, it's so much to say, and it is a lot to say. You don't want to say everything at once. I'm telling you because I want to teach you as much. But like the first time you teach somebody, you don't want to say all the elements. Maybe you'll say one, or you'll watch them and you'll try to see the one thing that you would change. Like the one thing. If there's only one thing that you could change about this person's posture, what would it be, right? Maybe it's the shoulders down. This is a typical, right? Or maybe it's in downward dog bending the knees so that your back is flat. Find that extension in the spine, right? It's a lot about the spine, a lot about the nervous system, right? The effect it has over the nervous system. Any other questions, suggestions?
No. Everything's pretty nice.
Well, we went through a lot today. I would say, like, in your free time, if you can, actually, it is homework. Read the Krishnamacharya's article. So it's this one. That's Krishnamacharya. So this is like the basis of Ashtanga Yoga. And it'll just give you a little bit of the history on how it used to be, where it came from, how it came to be. So that's your homework. And that's pretty much it, ladies. Let's close the class. You can text me or email me if you have questions. So let's do cross-legged And maybe roll your shoulders up, back, and around a few times. Bringing that awareness to your shoulders. And like inhale, bring your shoulders up, squeeze them in, and then exhale, roll them back and around. And then tuck your chin slightly. Open the arms to the sides. Inhale your arms together, palms together, touch. Imagine that you're drawing a line from the sky all the way down to your heart. And close your eyes. Notice how your breath is flowing in this moment, and just allow it to flow in whichever way it wants for a moment. And now take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. Just creating an intention to close this class and to integrate your knowledge in your daily practice or when you teach others. So take a deep inhale again. Exhale, sigh out, relax your shoulders, relax your chest. One more time, inhale. Then exhale with an Om together. And we say namaste, open your eyes, namaste and your name out loud. Namaste, Bea. And namaste, Belen. Namaste, Kathleen. Namaste, Sylvia. Thank you for sharing this space and this time with me. Have a great weekend.
You too, Beth.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.